You, Abhishek. Uh, let's start. Let's go straight away to the questions. So we'll start with some history. So my first question will be: so you have been in the market for over 2 decades, and my first question to you would be: how did it all start? Tell us more about the early years as to what you followed then, and how much of that is still with you today.
So I used to spend a lot of time studying about programming, which the work that I was doing. Plus, I used to spend 2-3 hours every day, every evening rather, in learning about investing. Because what I figured was this is the only way out. I mean, I started with 5,000 rupees saved from my salary. There's that's the only way you can get into a uh, so the option that you had by reading Rich Dad Poor Dad was either you are a salaried employee, or you are a businessman, or you are an investor, or you are a professional. Right now, I was a salaried employee, so the only other option remaining for me was either to become a business person or to become a investor. A business person was ruled out, so the only other option is investor. So you start thinking about reading. I had no background and no finance knowledge. I did not even know what earnings per share meant. So then the journey started of reading. So started reading Business Standard and Economic Times, and Business World, the magazine. Why Business World? Because that was the only magazine that was available for 5 rupees at that time. It was a weekly magazine for 5 rupees. Everything else was, I think, 10 rupees, if I remember correctly. Or Business Today, Outlook, Business, and all of those were 10 rupees, 15 rupees. Business World was only 5 rupees. So you start with Business World, and started reading. Initially, everything went over the top. कुछ समझ में नहीं आता था. But slowly, knowledge started compounding. You start learning a little bit, and you started experimenting, reading research reports from the brokerages. That point in time, there were very few options to study also, right? Either you had books, Warren Buffett books. So the first book I read was The Warren Buffett Way, Robert Hackstrom's. Then chanced on to Peter Lynch, One Up on Wall Street and Beating the Street. I still have a hardbound original US version of Beating the Street, which I bought in MG Road in Pune, in a second-hand bookshop. But it was a new but old book, and I bought it I think for 25 rupees at that point in time. I still have that book. So started learning. So everything that I was reading was new learning for me, and I always had this problem that I thought that I don't know anything, so I need to work extra hard. And I started reading everything that I could get my hands on. Whether it was personal finance, whether it was stock markets, investing, long-term investing, trading.
Now, as early investors, we all have our own role models and also a heavy dose of bias towards investing, right? So, what were those early biases for you that you think you have overcome over the years in your investing journey? If you can explain with a few examples, that would help us understand it better.
So, I think first part of your question was about role models. Obviously, when I started in 2000, most of the literature, investing literature that was available was about Buffett and Lynch, and primarily the value school of investing, or the GARP school of investing. And that's how I also got started. It made a lot of intuitive sense, to buy into good businesses that can keep compounding. So that's how that was the kind of investing style that I also started with, and a large part of it I still continue to do. Initial years, I think in India, I don't know if any one of you remember, especially people who've been around for a long time might remember that Ramesh Damani used to do a chat on Rediff. I think if I remember correctly, it was every Tuesday at I think 4 o'clock or something. He used to do a live chat, and for people like us who were absolute novices, to be able to ask questions, even though it was a online chat forum, it was something like mind-boggling, because there were very few options to interact with big name investors or people who you looked up to. So I think a lot of learning from Ramesh ji at that point in time, early formative years. Uh, See, the biggest learning that you will get is about fixing your mindset, right? And I keep saying this all the time. Investing is 80%. It's, if I look at the 80-20 principle, uh, successful investing is 80% about managing your mindset and your thought process and your psychology, right? You and I both can buy the same stock at the same price, uh, you know and come out with completely different results, right? Because I may not be able to hold on, my conviction may be less, I may panic and sell out, whereas you may be able to hold on through thick and
Abhishek,
thin.
what were your top early big hits that gave you the kick that this is it, what you want to pursue for the long term? As in, not just I don't want to know only the names of the stocks. More importantly, what were the learnings? So what went right? What and so if I have to paraphrase in Hindi, like शेर के मुंह में खून लगना, right? Where you get that kick that no, this is where I belong and this is where I have to. So if you can share
So
something
there were
regarding that.
initially first 5-6 years, to be very honest, it was all grind work, right? I'm trying to learn, I without understanding anything. I didn't know how to read a P&L. I didn't know what anything meant. I mean, I could understand revenue, profits, but beyond that, what are the difference between ROE and ROC? I had no idea. So everything was a learning phase, and after that, uh, you gravitate towards the larger companies because there was information about them, right? You get brokerage reports, you read through them, you understand, okay, what is happening, and that is how I started off. I also started investing through mutual funds initially, uh, so I could see what stocks the mutual funds were buying, etc., etc. So that is how the learning started. I don't think that initial first 3-4 years there were any big winners or losers, because primarily the game I was playing was not for fours and sixes, because I was not prepared. You're like a tail ender, you're trying to protect your wicket and you're trying to get ones and twos. And but what I could figure out was, even from the first few years, that this is a place where you could make money, right? So you put in 10,000 rupees, that 10,000 became 12,000. Or every month I used to put in 4-5,000 rupees from my savings, uh, and you could see that money growing, right? 2003 onwards, there was this huge bull market. Uh, then you started feeling that you can actually make money. In a year, I don't remember whether it was 2004 or 5. Uh, my portfolio doubled, right? So that is when you start realizing that this is a place where you can make money. And second, of course, by that time you started listening to Warren Buffett and Rakesh Jhunjhunwala and others, and Ramesh Damani, and you sort of bought into that uh, the fact that equity can generate returns which are beyond returns that can be generated by other asset classes. So that conviction somehow I got early on, which helped me, because I could feel that ultimately, because simple cheese, what I could understand is who makes the biggest money in the world. Who are the people who are there on the Forbes list, or the Forbes list of billionaires? There's no salaried people who are there, right? There are only business people who are there. Right? So ultimately, it is businesses which make money, right? And how I, as a guy whose day job is writing some code somewhere in a company, uh, how will I participate in that business? So by buying, 2 shares of Reliance, my feeling was, देखो सुबह सुबह मुकेश अंबानी अलार्म लगा के मेरे लिए काम करने जा रहा है. And that is true for, not only that, but for everyone. I have 10 shares of some company, right? And that guy is every day morning he's getting up, fighting everything, doing exports, imports, whatnot. Sometimes even stealing tax, XYZ, doing whatever. He's doing it for me because I